Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 55th episode of the Priest Legacy DLC for Cultist Simulator. Playing as Harold Davidson and possibly getting close to the end. We'll see where this all goes. So before we move on with the service that we're doing right now, let's talk a little bit about threats on the board. We've got a Season of Suspicion coming up, and we have got 3 notoriety sitting on the table. 1 is very recent, and so we're definitely going to get caught by that. We have tentative evidence on the table, which means that damning evidence will be produced. In addition, we have an injury, and we're using health to generate a lock scar. We've got 97 seconds left with the stay of execution. So if a Season of Sickness comes up, then that's another factor that will potentially be damaging to us. We've got a Restlessness, which is decaying in 26 seconds and turning into a Dread. Now, the good news here is that we've already got Contentment, so the Season of Despair is not necessarily going to be a challenge for us. So overall, it's a very fragile position, and with the work slot being taken up, we don't have quite as much that we can do to try and fix things. So one thing I'm going to try and do to just bring a little bit more balance into my circumstances, I'm going to go through the Stag Door, and if we go and talk with Teresa Gallagher, it's possible that we can get a favor from authority, which will help us out with the damning evidence. And the danger of going into that region is that we wind up with a fascination. Well, the fascination is going to help us out with the dread, and so in that case here, all of the negative effects are not ones that are going to affect us, whereas there's a couple of things that may be useful in there. So we're going to just make a quick trip to the Mansis. We don't really need the reason for anything else. It's a way that we can maybe just try and push things to our favor a little bit. So in my dreams, I know the path to the Stag Door through the maze of the bounds. Gearby will let me pass, but the path is always a puzzle. I will need reason. I guess the other thing that I could say would be, I know I need dread to... Oh, no, sorry, I needed dread to move the knock up. We don't need dread for the unresolved ambiguity, though. Anyways. The Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. And the vision of St. Agnes, I begin my vigil, my mouth is open, my eyes are open. Through them, as the congregation raises the hymn, St. Agnes enters like a questing hand. Alright, so I'm interested in what's coming up next. So, Season of Ardors, we've got a Contentment coming up that will also help us with the Restlessness. We still don't have a way of dealing with the evidence, but we're working on that. St. Agnes unlocks my tongue, and I taste blood. St. Agnes encircles the vessels of my heart, and I feel a moment's pain. St. Agnes departs via the first wound of all, the one in the pit of my belly, where the serpent of my birth was severed. But first she affirms and uplifts me. This is my path. Until I am the path, I will open unto my people as a door, that they might pass me. Lock scars cannot be created with knock or secret histories, only the other 7 aspects. Okay. So this is kind of nice. Like, this is an opportunity for me to... So what did I need to use the injury for, then? So this is a chance for me to sort of show live how I solve a problem in Cultist Simulator. So we have funds, that's good. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the lock scars. So this has Grail aspect, knock aspect. It is a tool and aspect lock scar. Perhaps serpent has kissed me, perhaps knife is drunk of me, perhaps I dreamt too sharp a dream. In a rite with sufficient intensity of knock, this scar might open. Okay, so what we do now is we think about the different rituals that we can conduct. Let's do the sunset rite here. We'll offer up the subtle rupture. Oh, but that doesn't allow a... Well, this does let me destroy a... Okay. Threshold Ascension requires 7 lock scars and knock aspect to the 24th intensity. Well, I don't think we're going to get 24 out of this. And that's actually... Well, that's interesting. So we can get I could definitely get 30 in terms of right, so that's my knock taken care of. But this doesn't count as a desire. And then this would be too short. So in this case, it's 22 instead of 24. So we either need to move our knock lore up, which we can with the formula of Phidian. Okay, let me just make sure, because I remember there's a couple of rituals which have access to... That's not going to help me. Okay. So yeah, I think the way that I'm sitting right now, 10 influence, 10 from Enid or Neville, each of these are only going to give me 2. So unless I have the ability to add more than one lock scar and still add like Enid or Neville, I just don't see how I can get myself up. I need that extra level in study. So for this, we would need a Grim Lesson. So Dread, this will need Paradoxical Resolution. So this would be, okay, we can work with the Open Soul. And I need Erudition in this case. And I'm probably going to need the Erudition right away. So let's give this a shot. So I'm more or less just going to accept that right now I'm not going to get what I want from this ritual. So that's more content for you. What we need to do right now is deal with the injury. In fact, I've got 33 seconds before this becomes decrepitude. So what I'm going to wind up doing, I'm sort of going to unwind all of this work that I was working on. We're going to try and make some money, and we're going to try and deal with some threats to us right now. So one thing I could try and do is just level up the subtle rupture and all of that. No reason to do that. What I need to deal with right now is the danger of the evidence. So we may be getting something from the stag door, we may not. But the one thing that I definitely know that I can take advantage of is a Callagine, and we've got plenty of knock influence to do a summoning with. So we'll take the Sunset Rite, Subtle Fracture. We will add Winter, and then we will add a Forge Follower. Laidlaw, please give us a hand. Wait a minute. Oh, right. It's Dominant Forge and Little Winter, not the other way around. I think I keep making that mistake, too. Forge for the Smoky Spirit. Summoning Winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. So we kept the Subtle Rupture around, not just because it's a higher value, but well, it's kind of because it's a higher value, but basically because it is a higher value, it's one that we can, it's technically going to last longer. It's going to have a little extra time to sort of decay. Okay, so we've got the Dread. We're going to use that for leveling up the formula of Phidian. Actually, that may be enough to start the ritual now that I think of it, even if we don't have the influence. Alright, Course of the Heart's welcome in this case. So, speak to something I've summoned. Nothing, my words cease like sand in a glass. Not quite ready to do the summoning again, so we'll keep talking with our friend the Percussagant. Preserve that as long as we can. So this is not a surprise. Season of Ardor's coming up, so the good news is I can get rid of the Dread if we wind up in an emergency. So, I am a dummy. It's the white door that I needed to go through, not the... let's do the Painted River. There's a chance I get Fascination out of it. Yep. So, this is just going to be something that I can tranquilize... with the Dread, and if I need to worry about the Fascination, we got the Fleeting Reminiscence. So I dreamt of the mantis behind the white door, of the great space above the orchard, the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail of the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I'm awake, I see those colors still. Okay, so let's grab whatever injury and vitality we can, whatever is going to expire soon, so all I need now is time. 60 seconds, we're good there. This injury's got 100 seconds left on it, so we're good, and the course of the heart, basically I know that this is going to last more than 60 seconds, so everything's under control for the injury situation as long as I keep on top of my needs. Okay. Rebellious Spirit, this isn't great, but we can still use the influence. So in this case, oh, I don't even have reason. Oh, I do. Okay. The words contain knowledge, now I contain it. It's a little like theft, a little like feasting, and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. So we were going to get rid of the Callagine right away. I don't see any value in risking losing essential people right now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to level up our Knocklore. There are incantations of unseeming, where the space between the worlds is as potent as the actual syllables. When a thing is opened, we'll know its nature. Okay. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. So, lucky me there. We have the little savings to go on still. I think I'll go to Oriflamme's with an Iron Spintrea, though. So I can still work with this Subtle Fracture. It's gone. We're safe. So, I'm going to wait for a second to work with the Percussagant, because that thing is really close to expiring. So another Sunset Rite, we add the Percussagant, we add the Subtle Flaw. The Percussagant, Merciless and Merry. Heart will bring it, Edge will constrain it. So the reason I'm doing this is if it winds up being a rebellious summoning, I may get a chance to try and summon another one. That's the big reason why I'm trying this around. Although, my belief is that I don't actually need to use an influence in that case. And I might get a chance, now that we've got a little bit more time on the playthrough, I might get a chance to show that, but we'll see. Should probably be a little more organized, so my Contentment Escape for the Dread isn't an option for the next little while, but we'll get by. And it looks like we do have a Season of Sickness coming up, so that's going to be inconvenient, but not a major threat. So we'll use the Vitality to begin with. I could try talking to the Percussagant for oh wait, it's not going to help me because I have an available health. So again, that's more the insurance policy. So my one worry is that this dread may not actually last long enough to be useful to us. And that's what the talk verb is going to be used for if it comes down to that. Auctioneer's Gavel Bangs, my item is sold. We did get an energetic building, so actually it looks like we got 3 for that, which was a nice and unexpected result. We still need to see what happens in the Explorer verb. I guess we can go to Oriflamme. Well, I've only got 2 Iron Spintrea, so we'll be patient. We'll hang on to this. Although I can probably just afford to... Oh no, we've got Trembling Airs, so we can use a Vitality to cure this sickness too. So we'll see what happens with the Percussagant. Nice. First the thump, the rattle and cry of the ceremonies it attends in the wood. Now here it is, shouldering its way through the world's skin, like a clawed and ruthless uncle, or a headless flapping bear. Okay. So, I'm gonna have a chat with the Percussagant just to try and preserve the dread for a little bit longer. Actually, there is a game I want to play here where I want to actually draw that dread down for a bit longer, because the sooner I can get rid of it, the happier I'm going to be. But let's talk about what my next summoning is going to be. Okay. So I still want to get rid of the evidence, I think. So again, I can use my work slot for other things, but we're okay for funds now. And let's not assume that we've got 3 clear minutes to stop let's assume that we're going to have another season of suspicion come up and that we do actually need to deal with this. So we will take a... I can't remember... Yeah, I guess it'd be the Xanthotic Essence I would need. Well, that's fine. Right of the Mother's Mercy, Xanthotic Essence. There's other things that we could do. So again, it's winter or... Actually, yeah, we've got Wolf Snow, so maybe I should have been using that instead of the... Well, that's fine. We'll... Either way. Right of Mother's Mercy, Wolf Snow, the Formula Fissive, and we will bring Neville in for the help. Forge for the Smoky Creature summoning, winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. Sick room grows close and stale, time to get up. So, we still need to recover the health here, but we're otherwise okay. Grim Lessons. Alright. So... We'll try and hang on to this fascination for a little while just so I can use it to tranquilize the dread when the time comes, but we're okay for now. And again, for the same kind of the same story as the dread, I want to keep this around a little bit longer just in case I need to use it for something else. Okay, so I'm going to need to figure out what to do with this restlessness. This could also be used in a summoning if the need arises. But we want to see what happens with the Callagine first. Okay, another chat with the Percussagant. Okay, we will use Reason to get rid of it, which means we'll use the Restlessness to try and summon a new one. Assuming I can. There is a little bit of a... There's a little bit of a question as to whether or not that's actually going to work out. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to Fascination, so I'm going to let this turn into Dread. Or actually, we probably get the Dread from the event anyway. We'll see how it turns out. Paradoxical Resolution. So in this case, we can use our Open Soul, and I believe that's the last component we need to level up the lore. Season of Despair coming up, so I actually need to be careful about any dread I'm generating, which is inconvenient. So as a precaution, let's do a painting. But I can't because I've got my Open Soul here. Okay, well, we'll do a painting, but we're not going to do the usual kind of painting we do. Actually, sorry, I could have done a summoning with that Restlessness. That was me panicking. So I have a feeling that the Season of Despair is going to become dominant, and that's going to be the one that that picks up the dread if the timing works the way I think it's going to. Which again is inconvenient, but not impossible for us to deal with. Okay, Season of Vision's coming up. That's already affecting us, so that counts as a free turn. Now I understand. And let's see what happens next. I finished a painting to the excitement of absolutely no one but me. So that isn't income producing for us, but it gets us where we need to go. I think for... No, I should still be fine. I think we can do the ritual in about 12 seconds, so I don't want to use up the work slot unless I absolutely have to. Okay, so we knew that dread was coming up. We've got a contentment to tranquilize it in 37 seconds, so that's going to sort itself out. When we open a thing, then we learn its nature. I've deepened my understanding of the lore that opens, which we call by its aspect knock. And here we go. Liminal invocation. One god who was stone remains, and she watches all thresholds. So I'm going to try something very risky here. So I don't want to exactly sacrifice one of my knock followers. I don't have any influence to sacrifice. Oh, actually, I do have an influence I can sacrifice. It's going to seem unnecessary, but I believe if I do a sunset rite, I could offer the vitality. Nope, but then I need, I still need the, okay, so I have to sacrifice one of the things. So, the most straightforward lock scar for me to get was definitely the heart one. So what I'm now going to try and do, this is experimental, so there's the danger that I mess up the ritual, and I'm in a situation where I need to recover one of the lost lock scars. So the heart lock scar was a very straightforward one for me to grab. So we could do something like the Rite of Rebel Striving. So in that case, you have to give up an instrument. So we'll offer the heart lock scar. We will then add the liminal evocation, and Enid was the chosen from the previous one, so it seems appropriate to bring her in as well. Once I am 7 locks, I may be opened for my people to pass. That is what the yearning has been teaching me these long nights past. My congregation's prayers will exult in pain. So when I am the threshold, this scar will open at the beat of the drum. Nothing my words cease like sand in a glass. I'm just gonna ride this out now. We always have oriflammes if we run out of money. Season of suspicion, but there's no evidence against me, so we're safe. Another scar. The tide of pain receives. For a moment it is relief, and then despair floods in. Perhaps I am not yet ready. Perhaps I never will be. I can't remember. I don't think there's a specific order. So it says this one will open last, so I'm going to try and work that out. The rest of this, though, I don't... So when I am a threshold, this scar will open to a fervent kiss. Once more, my weeping faithful ply their instruments. See to my thirsts, wipe the blood from my mouth. Perhaps I will burst like ripe fruit. Perhaps I will fall like rain. The tide of pain recedes. For a moment there is relief, and then the despair floods in. Perhaps I'm not yet ready. Perhaps I never will be. Forge scar. When I'm a threshold, this scar will open to the touch of hot iron. Once more my weeping faithful ply their instruments. See to my thirsts, wipe the blood from my mouth. Perhaps I will burst like ripe fruit. Perhaps I will fall like rain. The tide of pain recedes. For a moment, it is a relief, and then the despair floods in. Perhaps I am not yet ready. Perhaps I never will be. When I am a threshold, this scar will open beneath the blade's touch. Once more, my weeping faithful ply their instruments. See to my thirsts, wipe the blood from my mouth. Perhaps I will burst like ripe fruit. Perhaps I will fall like rain. The tide of pain recedes. For a moment it is a relief, and then the despair floods in. Perhaps I'm not yet ready. Perhaps I never will be. When I am a threshold, this scar will open at the flush of dawn. Once more my weeping faithful ply their instruments. See to my thirsts, wipe the blood from my mouth. Perhaps I will burst like ripe fruit. Perhaps I will fall like rain. So we're in deep trouble if this season of despair catches us. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not found enough evidence to bring the case against me, and they found no new clues. The tide of pain recedes. For a moment it is a relief, and then the despair floods in. Perhaps I am not yet ready. Perhaps I never will be. When I am threshold, this scar will answer to the scissors. Once more, my weeping faithful ply their instruments. See to my thirsts, wipe the blood from my mouth. Perhaps I will burst like ripe fruit. Perhaps I will fall like rain. Another scar. The tide of pain recedes. For a moment it is a relief, and then the despair floods in. Perhaps I am not yet ready. Perhaps I never will be. My people draw back from me, crying, shouting, laughing. I cannot be beautiful in their eyes, not now after all that they've done, but now they look upon me as I might be a new sky. The arms of the mother. When I open like the arms of the mother, and open I will remain, as the shell from which the pearl is taken. The space where I was will be a postern gate in the fortress of days, that only my initiates will ever pass. But in the fifth history alone, my skin will peel from me in tatters, my teeth will be long, and my flesh scant upon my bones as sea wrack. And I will rise like a wave and hood myself to mark what I have become. Congratulations on a threshold victory. You have wrestled the game to its knees. There are other paths. I wanted to give the music a chance to calm down because I know it's a little hard to talk over it. So we'll talk a little bit about the image. So I'm not, I haven't quite got an idea about the hands for myself, but this is the mother of ants. You can see the snakes at her feet, keys in one hand, the cigarette, of course, wounded, and there is the knife. Also, I like little details like this of the door in the background. Now, every one of the cards has little details like this. I believe it was Sarah Gordon who prepared these. And there's definitely a lot to pull in on them. There's actually on the Etsy shop. Sorry, this is going to sound like a advertisement, but this is more just for information. There is actually a tarot of the hours, which was not something I was originally going to pick up, but I think the temptation was too much, so I did actually wind up picking it up myself. But they all look so nice. I'm a little reluctant to like really just flip through them a lot, but it'd be kind of fun to go through and just look at all of the little details in terms of the visuals. But certainly you can see the references to the mother and the knock. This is the end of the playthrough together. I think one of the reasons I really wanted to do the Priest Legacy was that this is one of the lesser appreciated DLC, in my opinion. This was actually the first DLC after a long break. So I think the first one that got released was the Dancer DLC, but I think the Priest... I may be getting the timings wrong on this. But yeah, I feel like the Priest was one that was done... so I know there's been a comment that this one is just very different from the others, I guess might be the charitable way of putting it. Now, I'm quite into this one. I think Knock is interesting. I do like the idea of... I mean, let's face it, this is a rather horrible way to go. I actually really like how the descriptions of what is happening to the priest is incredibly violent. The descriptions are like the actual things that are happening to the priest are incredibly violent, but it is it's written in such a way that there's kind of enough left to the imagination, which in its own way is even more horrible, right? Because you kind of have this, bespoke image, just specifically tailored to your subconscious and everything that makes you squirm. But I think just the other thing too, little things like the Gospel of Zacchaeus and some of the other references with the religious imagery, specifically with Knock. It's just kind of neat to see all of this come up inside of a DLC. I think the puzzle is a challenge and an interesting one, and particularly one where you're playing a character that's obviously giving up so much of themselves. Where you have that really counterintuitive step where you actually need to, you need to give up something in order to be able to get the health. Obviously very much in line with, the other real life traditions, that would sort of follow on in the theme. So for me, actually, I enjoy this tremendously. It's hard for me to say. I honestly don't have a legacy where I would say that I don't care. I don't care for it. I'm very happy with all of them, but I'm curious. I suppose I should spend some time maybe looking at the reviews, seeing what people's issue with the priest was. But I like this. I remember really enjoying it when I first played it, and I'm really happy I got to do it again and got to share it with all of you. One challenge I've noticed about streaming this on YouTube is I believe because of references to sort of priests and cults, this has definitely been a very difficult series just for the point of view of like not getting flagged for objectionable content. So I first of all appreciate the fact, I appreciate the work that a bunch of moderators have been doing. So from what I understand, most of the videos here have actually required someone to manually go in and say that, yes, this is okay. I've tried to mark them as accurately as I can, but obviously it's a big demand on on YouTube to be able to just sort of affirm that, yes, I know what I'm doing. This is a little different from what what the text might indicate that it is. Actually, on that note, I must apologize for one thing. Normally, the way that I do the ads on this is there's one on the opener. I kind of feel like that's a fair distinction. And of course, if you have an ad block or anything like that, you probably haven't seen them. And that I just kind of accept as the way that it is. But normally what I try and do is that at the end of so there's it's the bookend, the default on the channel is kind of the bookended ad. So one at the start and one at the end. And then what I normally do is that when an episode is no longer the new one, I block, I chop off the one at the end. So the idea is that they're about a half hour long. It's a little bit like having an ad break between episodes of a TV show. That seems to me to be a fair division. But it seems that somewhere along the way, honestly, I probably just forgot, and I realize it's a forgetfulness that is to my benefit. But it seems to be that those one at the ends remained, and I think it was because I started just using sort of the copy traits from the previous video setting. So for those of you who are affected by that, I apologize. I don't like the idea of you getting hit with 2 sets of ads as you're trying to watch a sequence. And I mean, it's kind of dumb to say this at the end of the series, because I suspect people who will be hearing this will have already been hit by it. But I'm going back through those videos now and trying to get rid of that. So there will still probably be ads, assuming that you see ads at all. But it should just be sort of one at the start, and then it moves on, as opposed to sort of hitting you once at the start and once at the end as you're trying to watch a series. Because I don't want to make it too painful for people to go through the video. Anyways, there's more interesting things to talk about than YouTube particularities, but I would have liked to have fixed it earlier. Having now recognized the issue, actually, I found that out. I found that out a little bit earlier. I think it was like when I was preparing that previous episode. I think I went back to fix something, and yeah, I kind of started going back, but it seemed silly to bring it up like at the start of the video. And I just remembered it now. So sorry about that. As far as the overall series is concerned, sorry, I was going to talk a little bit more about the priest legacy, but I wanted to get the housekeeping out of the way as well. I really enjoy doing Cultist Simulator, and in fact, one really big reason for that is the reception that it's gotten. Not just in terms of metrics and all of that. I mean, I'm obviously still a small YouTube channel, and I don't necessarily think that viewing numbers are necessarily the only thing that you can grade yourself on. They are a factor, and they're actually an important factor. I would very much like to grow, but I think the better way to grow, of course, is to try and put on as good of a show as I can for people. And I actually really appreciate that a lot of you have been helping me out with that in terms of things like the comments and the likes, because in my own particular case, I don't. I very often do not do the comments in that, and I realize it's sometimes very unusual to sort of to pull that out. So it is very much the fact that a lot of you have been willing to do that, or the fact that you still continue to watch is a reason why I continue to do Cultist Simulator, and I plan on continuing that. So I definitely want to do another series for Cultist Simulator. I am, however, going to need to spend a little bit of time. I'm feeling very worn out, and I think this is a temporary thing for me. I think this is actually specifically because of the last couple of weeks at work and some other things that I've needed to do. But it's also fair to say that I started the Cultist Simulator videos on a much slower production schedule. And I tried the 1-hour videos, and then I got the impression that the majority seemed to like the shorter formats. But in order to try and keep the same amount of content getting sort of a release, basically produce the same number of minutes of content every week, I really tried to push hard on doing these 4 videos a week. The reason there's the Tuesday off is that I was doing the Oblivion videos as well, and Oblivion finished while I was recording this. So that's why there's that weird gap if you came in later on the series. But that is a tricky one. Like I record these over the weekend, and there's a lot of other stuff that I need to do on the weekend as well. So I definitely need a little bit of time to recharge, and I also need to think about how I'm going to try and navigate that expectation in terms of videos and such. I'm definitely doing more Cultist Simulator. I have some ideas about which legacies I would like to do, and I think in the absence of other information, I'm going to try my best to follow a format similar to this one. So that will mean, 20 to 30 minutes. I've noticed that I think originally I did it at 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes just kind of seemed to fit a little bit better. So and to try and put, at least 4 videos out. If I can do a whole week of videos, I'll do my best. But if you have a preference for longer videos, please let me know. Just keep in mind that I realize I'm going to make people unhappy one way or the other on this. And of course, the answer to how many videos should I do, period, is always more. And I'm working on that. But now is a particularly good time if you've enjoyed the series, if some things didn't work for you in the series, if you would like to try and offer a little bit of guidance in terms of what you'd like to see moving forward, now is a particularly good time, because I'll say I'll try to make it no more than 2 weeks between this series and the next one. I realize that anytime you take a break, there's going to be a long period away. Obviously, my Twitch stuff will still be uploaded, but for continuing Cultist Simulator videos, I'm just going to need a little bit of time between me and the episode to be able to the next set of episodes to just be able to sort of recharge. And if I can get a couple episodes in the can, just so I don't need to feel like I'm on a treadmill the whole time, that really helps me to make sure that I can keep them coming up regularly. But if there's a legacy that you'd like to see, if there's something you've struggled with inside of the games, if there's something that you would like overall content-wise, because I've debated about doing maybe a longer video sort of based on that kind of graph analysis, network analysis that I did of the cards in Cultist Simulator. That might be interesting to do as well. Generally, it's the gameplay that I think has a clear appetite for it, but I know some people like discussing lore. And there are probably some other things that I can go into. So again, I have ideas on this, but I know a lot of you have been very helpful in terms of letting me know, what's working for you and what's not. And I wanted to give you a chance. So it's not just a break for me, but it's also a chance for you all to feel heard at a time when suggestions are probably going to have a larger impact on the stream as a whole. But I think that's it. I'm sorry to make this such a long ending, but I know it's nice to be able to just do a wrap up. I think that this is a really wonderful game, and I'm excited that so many people are still into it, so many years after its release. And if you have not yet picked up the DLC and are trying to make some decisions, my usual deal for these has been to try and do base level content as well as DLC. So I don't know if I'll do like one on, one off or anything along those lines, but that's another factor I'd be interested in, because I know some of you, I think this game was given away for free on Twitch when they had a game distribution service. And it feels like they kind of abandoned that service and there isn't a way to update things on it anymore. So I think people are several patches back. Oh, that reminds me. Actually, that also gives me a chance to update the version of Cultist Simulator so that I can have the latest patch. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the main menu. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. It's a real joy to be able to keep doing this, and thank you all for enabling that. So I hope you are well. I hope the next couple of weeks, if it's that, again, I'll try to be back as soon as I can, but sustainably. I hope the next couple of weeks treat you well. I hope you enjoy whatever it is you're doing. If you are just coming in off of the knock, there's actually a couple of other playlists that you can check out of both a Physician and a Apostle Obstinate playthrough. But I will leave it to your judgment as to whether or not that's your thing. For those of you who've been with me for the longest time, I kind of regret that you don't have archives to go back through. And I need to find a better way to reward people for long-standing service. But please just know that I appreciate you tremendously. Take care, have a good one, and we'll see you in the next series. Oh, sorry. There's one other detail that I promised I was going to say. Who is Harold Davidson? Some of you look this up, and some of you don't know this. So, the reason I named the character Harold Davidson... Sorry, I'm an idiot for not doing this. So, the specific reason I did this was on my Twitch channel. I did the game not for broadcast. But before I did not for broadcast, I read... So, actually, it wasn't just not for broadcast. I did a whole series on sort of Orwellian games. And so I read Animal Farm, and I read 1984. And then we also read Politics in the English Language, in addition to playing not for broadcast. And this was so that I could play the game Orwell and play the game not for broadcast and be able to participate in a larger conversation than just what video games have had to say about this issue. Because I think that's an interesting thing, right? I think specifically people who like Cultist Simulator, because there's so many real-world references that get thrown into this game, I think probably, it's fair to say that games become much more interesting when you bring something of yourself inside of them. And so in Politics in the English Language, there's a reference to what happened to, I think it was the rector of Stifkey is the quote, or anything along those lines. So that's obviously a reference that Orwell is making to something that was much more, sort of present in people's minds. Whereas now, if you read, Politics in the English Language, you actually need to look up who the rector of Stifkey is. So first of all, the name Stifkey is great, and I'm assuming that the tabloid press would have a field day with that. And probably did at the time, but definitely today it would. But of course, because I'm doing a priest legacy and this is fresh in mind, I'm like, of course I need to, to make a reference to Stifkey. But of course, Harold Davidson, the rector of Stifkey, was caught in a scandal and ultimately defrocked for from his position. And so there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot to go on this. Like there's little. So I would say probably the deeper references that you can get out of it are probably more coincidental than anything. Like it's interesting enough to sort of read in terms of what happened to him. There may be some relevance that you see towards maybe some of the things going on in the world here. But I was just sort of thinking, like, it's a fun. You've got the secret histories. You've got things sort of weaving through the world. You've got different histories sort of weaving through. And I was just thinking, it's like, okay, well, we've got a scandalized priest. We've got somebody who is sort of being sent off to this particular parish because they need to sort of move them out. So this was sort of my little effort at let's say, an alternative history. And in that case, that is why the character is named Harold Davidson. For the outside of game reasons, essentially just because I thought Stifkey was too on the nose for priest not to go with it. And then I also just sort of thought the scandal, I thought just a few of the different factors and circumstances fit alarmingly well for the for the kind of story that I wanted to tell in terms of the priest legacy. And so I kind of decided that I would bring Harold Davidson into the secret histories and share it all with you. So I'll leave. I think the Wikipedia article is actually a pretty good one if you want to see the full details about what happened to him. But that is the name. That's the reason for the name. I need to stop talking because this is like 15 minutes over the normal time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You've been wonderful. I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks. I hope you find them as restful as I'm hoping to. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.